and welcome to Husky Hoops. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me currently right now, UConn women's basketball legend and current Western Connecticut State University head women's basketball coach, Maria Conlon. I get to see her 2 days in a row. Do you know how lucky I am? Maria, how are you?
What's up? How we doing? Great. How are
so you you got a big game today. Are you going into it, you got a bus ride to UMass Boston, a couple hours, is it 2 hours? Yeah. How are you feeling about
3 on the bus?
Is it really?
I feel good.
Jesus. You feel good? Okay.
It's like we're really close to New York where we are, so it's probably like 2.5 if we're in a car. I always buffer an extra half an hour on the bus.
That's right, because you're by Danbury. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
So you're by Danbury. UMass Boston, how are they this year? I was gonna take a gander.
They're good. They're like middle in the pack. We played them tough last time. We're a much different team now, as I'm sure they are.
Right, right.
We'll get there and we'll give it our all.
Right.
That's all you can do.
Right. Okay. So I'm looking at their women's team as well. Okay, I see what you're saying. So they're 7-11, they're 4-5 in the conference. And they're 1-5 in their last 6 games. What would you say the strength of their team is?
Definitely their post play. They're really scrappy. They crash the offensive boards. They trap a lot in the half court, both in the corners and on the wings. So taking care of the ball today will be probably the most important thing. Yeah.
Their post play is that strong. I mean, the bigs that I see are 5'11", 5'10".
Athletic. Really athletic.
Oh, okay. Do they go with a smaller lineup, or do they try to play with?
They start with 3 bigs, as do we. So, which we didn't the last time we played them. I think turnovers and just having our bigs stay out of foul trouble will really be the key today. And we got to knock down open shots.
Okay, right. That was a thing. Hitting the open shots. Very, very important to take advantage of those opportunities anytime presented. And then do you have another game this week? Do you play Saturday?
Saturday we're at Vermont State.
That's Castleton. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you had beaten them before.
Yep.
So you feel pretty good about playing them again. You'll beat them again.
Yeah, they're a better team than they were when we first saw them. But
yeah, well, everyone is though, right?
Yeah, but I feel good.
You feel good. Okay. Yep. So that could really get kind of some momentum rolling. You beat UMass Boston. You beat Vermont Castleton. Eastern Connecticut is your rival. Mm-hmm. Do you feel good about beating them?
I think we can. I think if we execute and some things from the last game that we played them, I mean, honestly, I think we can beat anybody if we really lock in and execute on offense and take care of the ball. So,
yeah, and that's how you should feel. You should have that feeling with your team, and I just love the way that your roster is put together, and I love that you play so many people. I mean, you're not afraid to go 10 deep. I mean, it looks here, or no, it was one.
Yeah, we do at times. We go 9, 10 deep. sometimes you just have to fall trouble with different lineups. So, yeah,
I get that. Yeah. How confident are you in your bench? Are you confident when you have to go 9 deep?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I think, again, it's because of our youth, it really depends. Like sometimes our bench comes on and they play really, really well. Sometimes when our bench comes on, we have a little bit of a let up. So, it'll really depend on, how they perform today. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I was just looking at your stats overall. Would you, Nia is your highest scorer. She has been your player. And then Jalen is the number 2 as far as scoring. And who would you say is your best 3-point shooter? Is it Alyssa?
No, so Alyssa's a post player. We don't have a Jalen on our team. Am I gonna be fact checking you today? What's happening?
Is it Dingle?
Yeah, Lay is a good 3-point shooter. Nikki Peralta is a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah, well, everyone fact
can knock them down. Cam Frolich can knock them down. So yeah, we have a couple of people that are shooting the ball pretty decent right now, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will go and look at the UConn women's basketball team, who have a game tonight against DePaul, who you had said wasn't terrible.
I think we're gonna blow DePaul out. I think they're a well coached team.
They are okay,
but I just think from a talent perspective, they have no shot. I say we probably win by 35 or 40 tonight.
Oh, so tonight will be a big night for everyone. Everyone will get into play.
It should be, and then same with Butler on Sunday, and then next Thursday they have Tennessee.
That's the big one.
So I envision that being like the toughest one that we'll see the next few weeks.
Tennessee, and then a couple more Big East games, and then it's South Carolina. That's the one. But South Carolina lost recently, correct?
South Carolina, did they lose? I don't think so. They haven't lost in quite a few weeks.
They have not.
They lost one of their main players to an ACL injury.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So what are they currently ranked?
Yeah, no, they beat Tennessee by 7. Ranked?
Yeah, they're 20-1. Yeah, you're right. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, South Carolina's number 2. Tennessee's ranked 18th. So
okay. I got you. I got you. And are we still 5th, 6th?
6th.
We're 6th in that range. How do you see us matching up against a Tennessee? After playing the Big East schedule that we've played, now we're going to go into Tennessee. Now we're going to go into Columbia, South Carolina, which it's going to be a bit of an adjustment. How do you see us matchup wise against both of these teams?
Yeah, I think from a talent perspective, we match up really well. I think definitely a concern going out to Tennessee and then South Carolina is just the difference in physicality that both of those teams present. It's just something that we really haven't seen yet this year. So I think that's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. But we definitely have we have the firepower to win both. If we can get that 3-headed monster going again for a couple of games, we'll be in good shape.
And there he is, the man himself, the voice of the Huskies, the best of the best, the icon, Joe D'Ambrosio. Joe.
Good morning, kids. Sorry, I was on a hockey
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. See, I've been nice. I've been liking your social media posts.
I like that.
I like that too.
I like that.
And hockey is not easy to call. Hockey is very, very tricky to call.
I do the color, and it's not as
you do the color, okay,
as play by. And you know what? Hockey play by play is just a little bit quicker. But
okay.
How's WestCon doing, MC?
We're doing good. We got a game today. Yeah. We won over the weekend, so we're feeling good.
Where do you go? Where do you play today? Home?
No, we're at UMass Boston today.
Yeah, they're at UMass Boston, but they beat Plymouth State. They have a chance to win today, and then they have Eastern, and that's their rival. So they could actually get on a little bit of a roll here if things get going, which would be good.
When do you play Eastern, Maria?
Next Wednesday, week from today. Okay. We actually have Vermont State Castleton on Saturday, and then we play Eastern at home next Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot about Castleton. So, Joe, we were talking about the UConn women's schedule, and they are obviously going to roll through DePaul. Maria predicted, a 40-point victory, something like that. They have DePaul, Butler, and then, we were talking about Tennessee. Tennessee will be one of the bigger games. And I was just curious again. I was asking Maria, how do you see us matching up with Tennessee? And, we talked about playing a weaker Big East schedule. Now you're going to the SEC. Now you're playing much better competition. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I would say, guys, and Shu, good to see you, obviously. It's kind of like it's been that way for UConn in whatever league they've been in. It wasn't just they never lost a game in the American. I think they've lost one since coming back to the Big East. That was Marquette. Look, the league is what it is. It's not UConn's fault that these other teams can't compete at their level, which is why, as we said a couple of weeks ago, and this has happened forever, Gino will schedule a couple of real difficult non-conference games in the midst of the conference schedule just to see where the team stacks up. I think I don't know as much about Tennessee and South Carolina. I would think they match up better with Tennessee than against South Carolina, but two tough road games like that's gonna be good. And losses aren't the worst thing in the world, although coaches never like to hear that because you can learn from them.
Absolutely you can. And I was, I looked at the Creighton game, and I have become somewhat of a Jana Alfie fan.
Groupie, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't play as well in that game, but I think that since they made the change and had put her in the starting lineup, that kind of made the difference and put the team together. That kind of was the missing piece, having a big in there. And I love watching her get up and down the court. But it was really good to see, obviously Sarah and Paige play well. Caitlin Chen got in there a little bit.
What did she have? Didn't she have like 20 against Butler? I wouldn't call that a little bit.
No, I'm sorry. I was talking about Creighton. No, she played great against Butler. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You were dogging her, man.
No, I am a Caitlin Chen fan.
No, you're not. You were saying she was timid. You expected more from her.
Exactly, because I'm a fan of her. I'm a fan of hers.
Get off the horse and then try to climb back on.
I said that yes, that she was playing timid, hesitant. I felt that she could have been a little bit more aggressive with the ball. 100%, I did say that. But I am a huge fan of her. I think she can play. And like Maria said, when she was at Princeton, she had to score. She had to shoot. And at UConn, she hasn't had to do that. But no, the game she played well in was the Villanova game. She had 17 points.
They all
yeah, but I am, believe me, I am a huge Caitlin Chen fan. I want to see her succeed. I want to see the graduate transfers come in and succeed. I love watching her play. I love her defense. I mean, she was 7 for 8 from the field. She was 2 for 3 from 3-point range. And, the only thing that's missing is the assists. You'd like to see her have more assists. Paige had 9 assists that game. But Maria, again, I mean, do you think Caitlin Chen is improving and getting better?
I think, like I said before, I think that we'll see games where Caitlin will do a little bit more, and we'll see games where she does a little bit less. I think, I think an important part of her game is almost like the hockey assist, right? Like, are you passing it to the kid who can make the pass to the kid who's going to get the layup, right? Reversing it when somebody's sealed on the inside. I think we see the IQ portion from her. But again, I like her out there, especially to start the game, because it's a little bit more composed and a little slower. And I like KK coming off the bench where we can insert that energy.
Gives you a shot in the arm.
I mean, everybody played well against Villanova. So,
yes,
it's kind of like 6 and 1, half a dozen the other. I mean,
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
And then they struggled versus Creighton, which I said last week I thought could happen there.
Yes.
Creighton was making some outside shots. So I think we saw a little bit of that. Getting back to El Affy, she's really, really, really talented. I don't even think we've scratched the surface yet with her.
Well, the move I saw in the Villanova game, she did like a spin move and a layup off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to remember with her is that she's basically a freshman.
Yes,
right? She spent all last year in the summer rehabbing her Achilles. I suspect that as we get into these games where there's some bigger post matchups and more physicality, we might see her a little bit more. But we also might not, because if we go with a smaller lineup to speed up the game, it doesn't really fit her style necessarily. So I think, again, it just matters, what's the matchup, what's working well that game, and what do we need to contest on the inside will kind of dictate the minutes and the role that she plays in that specific game. But I like her progress. I think she's gotten better each game.
Well, she's better than Ice, correct? I mean, she's been doing more than Ice did when Ice was in there.
I think they're different. Ice is more of a face-up post player.
Yes.
Jana is back to the basket post player.
Correct.
So I think it's a hard comparison. I think they both bring something a little bit different.
I don't like the left-handed shot. That's my thing. I'm against the left.
But then again, like Ice can get a little extended out on defense and still be able to keep her people in front of her a little bit better than Jana could. So, again, I think it just depends on matchups. I wouldn't say like one is necessarily better than the other. I just think they're both a very different style. With her being back to the basket and Ice really preferring more to face up.
Is it Jana or Jana? Because I've heard both. So it is Jana. Okay. Dave.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Caitlin Chen and Jana and the DePaul game.
I think I'm gonna give general thoughts from watching. Overall, it's so hard to get a grasp in the Big East play.
It is, yeah. I agree,
and that's why I think you guys probably know a little bit more, from player to player, and I've watched Chen play, but just to get a grasp of where they are relative to the teams that they're gonna play in the NCAAs when it comes down to like the Elite Eight, and if they obviously play really well and roll and potentially Final Four, potentially championship, that's the hard thing. It's really hard to get a good grasp on it. I think Gino's amazing because of that. Yeah. I think that's. I mean, obviously they have a few of those tough games throughout the year to give him kind of a picture. But I am always amazed at how when it comes to tournament time, like he's able to put the right group out there and to rotate the right players out there, because it definitely isn't easy when you're beating teams by 40, 50 to get a full feel for
you
what.
Can't.
I mean, Maria said this before. Practice is really their key because they compete so much in practice, and he puts them in such tough situations in practice. So that's really where he gets his feel for that. Is my guess just from what Maria has said. But it's hard for me as a fan watching to really get a full grasp for whether Chen's going to be the answer come down. Because I'm not 100% sure on that when we get to tournament play.
Joe, I always wanted to ask you. Okay, does Gino get along with Hurley?
Oh yeah, they get along great.
So they get along great. Okay.
Yeah, they get along great.
It was, Calhoun did not get along with Gino.
They were oil and vinegar. They were oil and water. Two different personnel. I mean, one other thing is that, Danny's came in and Gino reached out to him and they got along great. So they get along great. I wouldn't say they're birds of a feather because I think Danny is just more.
He's a little more intense. Yes.
And Gino's so chill on the sidelines now.
Yeah. He's poised.
I'm sure Maria can relate to that.
Well, that's what, Maria, I would ask you that because, when we were there, Calhoun and Gino did not particularly like each other, if I recall.
They had an interesting relationship. I don't know if it was that emotional.
I don't think they had a relationship. Did they have a relationship?
I mean, they definitely did. I wouldn't get as emotional to say like they didn't like each other. I think like they were competing against each other during a very pivotal time where they're both trying to build something, and Gino was able to do it a little bit faster and do it more often. So I think there definitely creates a little bit of tension friction between the two. But listen, it's always better when your men's and women's programs get along.
And the players always got along. That to me, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
The coaches like one another. Seriously, I thought that story was so overplayed in the media during its time.
Well, at the end of the day, it's like, who cares?
Yeah, seriously, who gives a rat's ass?
Yeah.
As long as both teams are successful, everybody's worked in situations where they don't get along with somebody they work with, but they work with them. I thought that was stupid overplayed by the media at the time.
I agree.
Which happened for quite a while. They would always make a story about it.
Yeah, but then it went away.
My favorite was
went away.
No, it did. But my favorite was when people would clamor for Calhoun to coach the women's team and Gino to coach the men's team, and see what happened. What would happen?
People without a brain said that.
I know, but I read.
Morons said that.
Yes, Moron said that. So
the less credence you give morons, the better you are.
I agree. So do not give me any credence.
Yeah.
We talked about last weekend being pivotal, and we were hoping to get at least 2 out of 3. That did not happen. Xavier was a tough one. The Butler win in overtime, and then obviously we had the loss to Creighton. But what were your thoughts, Joe, on us taking an L against Xavier?
I was stunned by the late game execution. The fact that they couldn't get a shot off in that situation was appalling to me.
Right.
Sorry. I thought that was inexcusable. Coming out of a timeout, you got to execute. I'm sure they had a play. I don't think the coach sent them out there and say do whatever.
No.
But no. I thought the execution was and showed their youth. Caravan and Diarra are out there, but you got Sampson who hasn't played in a lot of late game situations like that. Solo and whoever. I think maybe
falls out half the time.
What's that?
Sampson fouls out half the time. I mean, he's always in foul trouble.
I mean, I think during the stretch without McNeely, the inconsistency is the thing. I mean,
it's caught up to him.
This might be sacrilegious, but Alex Karaban is at his best when he's your second or third option.
Joe's making me sound smart. I think I said that yesterday.
You did.
Listen, I said that last week. Yeah, I said that last week.
I've agreed with it. I've agreed with it all along.
Joe did.
We already know you're smart. It's a given.
When he's your third option, it's a better team. When he's your second option, it's okay. If he's your number one option, and I love the kid, he's a warrior. I don't think he's a Husky of Honor yet. I've seen that, and I'd pump the brakes. I'd pump the brakes on that.
Right.
He's not. He can't create enough on his own.
No,
to be that late game guy. You need somebody who's going to slash to the hoop,
right,
and drive to the hoop, or can create their own jump shot. And I mean, and again, he's just been a little too inconsistent. I'm sure he's been too inconsistent for his liking. But there's games where he scores 19 points, and there's the games that he's 2 for 10, 3 for 11.
The other thing that was surprising, the free throws. I mean, they only shot 17 free throws in the game. I still think they should be getting to the line more. Karaban didn't get to the line at all. Jalen Stewart, being in the starting lineup, has not produced much. What are your thoughts there about, I mean, I know that coach complains about the officiating, and you said that could be catching up to them. But what were your thoughts on the free throw situation?
Well, I mean, if Alex isn't driving to the hoop, he's not going to get free throws as a spot up 3-point shooter. That's pure and simple. Right. Stewart suffers from the same thing that Reed suffers from, that Ross suffers from, that Mahaney suffers from. They're just they're all inconsistent. Mahaney had a great game. He had 14 points.
14, yep.
Let's see what he does tonight against DePaul, which is not as good, certainly, as Xavier. And more importantly, let's see what he does Saturday at Marquette in what's another big primetime showcase. I just think the inconsistency is what has caught up to him without McNeely.
And Joe, I apologize because I didn't have my facts. What was our record in the Big East last season?
I think they lost 3 games, if I'm right.
Okay, so they had lost 3 games. They're right where they're at now. Games. They're 6-3 now in the Big East. Maria, what about you? I mean, with the free throws, and do you agree? It's just Karaban. It's not his game. He's not a driver, so he's not going to get to the line. He's a spot-up shooter.
I don't think 17 free throws is like a small amount.
No,
I don't.
No. It's not. Okay.
So I think when you're throwing out 17, it's like, okay, I mean, you're getting to the line sometimes. I think the style of offense that we've been playing is not a downhill offense where we're getting around the rim. We have a couple bigs in that are clogging the lane at times. I just don't see as much of that would create, those free throw opportunities.
Opportunities, right.
Again, and I've talked about this before, but, they're also still on the, 7 fouls, 1-and-1, 10 fouls, you shoot 2 instead of the girls' game where you get 5 per quarter. Maybe you see some more free throws in certain quarters than others in that style, I think.
Yeah.
So, that's a whole element as well. The free throws don't bother me as much. I think if you're getting anywhere from 15 to 20 free throws, again, that's pretty good. I think when you get into the 25-30, it's excessive. To me, that
the game slows down so much.
Well,
yeah, exactly. I just, watching people shoot free throws for 2 hours is not fun either. So, yeah, the free throws don't bother me. I think, like I said last week, I think Karaban is better being the 2 guy. And he fouled out of this game. I think teams are kind of going at him defensively because they know that he's that leader on the court to try to get him out of the game. Which is smart. So we'll probably see some more of that moving forward until we can get McNeely back. stretch the offense a little bit.
Yeah, the only reason I brought up free throws because there's a discrepancy. The other teams are shooting 24, 28 free throws per game.
Yeah, but
in the last couple,
I think
and we're not.
I said last week, I think our problem is that we pressure the ball a lot, right? So we're picking up some early fouls out there. And I think that our bigs leave their feet too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that they're fouling around the rim. I don't think it's I personally don't think it's a ref, going after Danny and giving them more calls than us. I mean, I watch the games and I'm like, it's a foul. Like, you're out of position. I don't know what to tell you. Like, stop leaving your feet.
Yeah. No, I mean, Sampson did have 4 blocks in the game against Butler. But Joe, I wanted to ask you.
By the way, last year they lost 2 conference games. So
okay, it was 2.
You're scoring at home or if you're alone.
Yeah, exactly. Were you surprised that the Butler game went into overtime?
Oh, of course, obviously. And again, it was a case where they were up 15 and the lead slips away. Last year, or as we, by the way, what's the heater of the day today? Is that like an unfiltered Camel?
No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Same thing. Newport. It's gone.
Light?
Back on the wagon. Back on the wagon.
It's gone. It's gone. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see a cigarette. I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, the Butler game again. It was just Butler played out of their minds. Butler, Thad Matta's a really good coach. Again, you had a couple guys who were inconsistent. Alex came back and played a good game in that one. But again, late shot clock in that game, and the ball sticks to Diarra's hands, and they don't get a great shot off.
Right.
I would think
he does that a lot, in my opinion. Right?
Yes, I said that last week. I think after you left, Maria.
He's an over dribbler. Like, he's dribbling out of good shots. Like, the ball's got to move way more on the perimeter, and then at the end of the shot clock, like, it's not just, let me take 10 dribbles and then try to jack something up. It's great if it goes in, but if not, it's a really bad possession.
Or it gets down to 7, 8 seconds and he gives the ball to Johnson 20 feet from the hoop where nothing's going to
do with it there. Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
But, no, the Butler game, Steve, is just kind of what we've seen this year where they get a big lead.
Yeah.
And it goes away. Now, I'll be honest with you, if it happens tonight against DePaul, which everybody is raving about is so much better, but they're still 1-9 in the league. If it happens at home tonight against DePaul, which I don't expect it to, then you've got real issues going into Marquette.
Exactly.
But I just think, look, this team is what it is. We're 2/3 of the way through the season. They have games where they execute and they look like the '69 Celtics, and they have games where they execute and they look like a 7, 8, or 9 seed.
But I think playing without McNeely when he eventually comes back, I think they're going to be better for it.
Who's improved? Who? Let me counter that. Let me ask you this: Who's improved without McNeely?
I thought Diarra has a little bit. I mean,
he's has become a player.
Yes, that's the one, Shu. That's the one. Solo has.
Yes,
and I think the other thing is we found out that Caravan, though he could score 20-25 in a night if he gets the shot set up for him, is not a go-to guy. I think those are two things we definitely have learned. Ball can be the guy, I think, and Caravan is really, he's got to be set up to not that he can't create, he can create, but he's not the main guy. Not that he can't go up for 20 in a game.
Right.
But he's not, I don't think he's the number one scorer for them.
No, he never was.
No.
Well, they tried. There was a sequence when it seemed like he was getting the ball a lot, and I think now that I think you're right. They've kind of moved away from it. I don't know if they expected him to step up when McNeely got hurt, maybe, but it seemed like there was like a few game sequence where he was really trying to go into that role, and that wasn't really the case.
Yeah, Joe, the only reason I said Sampson was because, he's scoring a little bit more.
Not consistently.
Well,
he'll have a good game, he'll have a mediocre game.
He had 12 points.
And I've said this from the beginning. I don't look at him as just him. I look at him and Reed together.
Correct.
And if you get 18-9 or 20-10 from that, that's terrific. You didn't get that. As good as Klingon was, he wasn't a 20-point-a-game guy. Right.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm just saying that against Xavier, Reed. No, it wasn't Reed. I'm sorry. Sampson had 12 points. He had 5 blocks, 4 rebounds.
Yeah, but Reed didn't have anything.
Reed did not have anything, but he played better in the Butler game. So they need them to be cohesive and No, he did not play better in the Butler game.
And the other thing with Sampson is he's got to rebound better. He's averaging 3 rebounds a game.
Yeah, he's not getting the rebounds. Reed had 14 and 7 against Butler, but you're right. That's a combination that they need.
No, against Xavier. I don't think against Butler. You're right.
Yeah, they both had 14 points. 6 blocks combined, and then the rebounds. You're right. I mean, Reed got 7. Sampson got 5, so they only got 12. You
look at him
production there.
17.6 points, 10 rebounds a game. You take that from the middle, as long as you got ball scoring the way he does, and Karaban's still leading the team in scoring with 15 points per game, and he's shooting it relatively well. But again, I just don't think of him as the number one scoring option.
Right. What is your opinion on how Diarra has been playing?
Well, again, I think he's good until it's a late shot clock situation. And then, like Maria said, the ball sticks to his hand.
Right.
I mean, he's averaging 6.5 assists, 9 points, 3.5 rebounds. I mean, his numbers are good. I think he's playing well. But again, late in the game, especially against the high-level opponents, he can't think it's all. You know what? You know what he is? He's Marcus Smart.
Really?
When Marcus Smart was with the Celtics.
Okay. That makes sense. I'll go with that.
The ball, even with Tatum and Brown, the ball always stuck to Marcus Smart's hands late in the game. And that's kind of what Haas is.
Absolutely. And I still hope that they can get more out of Mahaney. Get some consistency with him, get his confidence up. And with DePaul and going into Marquette, maybe he can play better. Maybe he can give them a little more production. Maybe he can fit in because, he just hasn't been what was maybe unrealistic expectations or what was advertised. But I think that they need to get him going. And if he can contribute, that would be a huge help and another huge piece.
Well, I mean, after DePaul, you've got at Marquette, home on a Friday night to St. John's, and at Creighton. That's the biggest gauntlet they'll face.
That's tough,
for the rest of the year.
Right.
So you need all hands on deck in those games. And even if you get McNeely back, then he's not going to be 100% right away.
No.
And Maria knows when you come back off an injury, it's hard to hit the floor running. You might hit the floor running, but your timing is off. Your skill's a little off. You're wondering, am I gonna tweak the ankle or the foot again?
Yeah, especially as a freshman. And
if you haven't been hurt before.
Correct.
Dave, what about you? What do you think of that whole situation with the schedule coming up? And like Joe said, all hands on deck. They got to get everyone performing and contributing to get through the meat of the schedule.
Well, yeah, after hopefully they get through DePaul, Marquette, St. John's, Creighton, Seton Hall, Nova. I mean, that's a stretch right there. That's going to be the stretch that's going to make or break. And then back to St. John's, and then maybe all the way through the stretch, all the way through. I mean, there's really not. Maybe Providence might be the weakest among these games.
Seton Hall is bad.
Yeah. Seton Hall's bad. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be that's going to be tough. Marquette a couple times.
It's going to be interesting for me. I can't wait to see them play St. John's.
Good luck today.
I want to see that.
Thank you guys.
Good luck, Maria.
Thank
Maria,
you.
You're the best, Maria. Thank you.
Maria, make the connect.
Got it.
Oh, by the way, I have a Maria Conlon trivia question before you go.
Oh, boy.
Here's today's Maria Conlon trivia question. In your career at UConn, which was 135 glorious games, how many assists per game did you average?
Oh.
7.
No, way lower.
4?
Probably, yeah, it's got to be lower because don't forget in the beginning I didn't get as much playing time, but they still count as
exactly.
Games. 2.5,
2.3.
Yep, there you go.
But
I had a lot of assists in all the big games.
Your biggest junior year was 3.4.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh,
we got assist turnover ratio was terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah. Except when you threw that pass off my water at the Final Four.
Which you never let that down. That's great.
All right, bye guys.
Good luck today.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. That is.
So let me ask you boys a football question.
Oh boy.
No, seriously. What do you make of this offensive lineman that they're getting from Notre Dame? I played on offense at Notre Dame.
I talked to.
He hasn't played, right?
No, I talked to Burton, and Burton, he's a national championship kid. He's apparently a very, very good athlete, and he is someone who, in his opinion, will add depth and then eventually contribute. He's not someone who's going to play right away. He doesn't see that, but he says his athleticism, he has tremendous potential upside, and by year 2, year 3, he'll be playing.
No, he's only got 2 years of eligibility left.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how they're looking at it. They don't think that he'll add depth this year, and then he'll probably start next year.
He's not coming in to start, even though he appeared in 14 games last year. I mean, the last 2 years. For them?
No, he doesn't believe that he's going to start. He thinks
but he played mainly this year, on special teams.
Okay.
He probably blocked for extra points and field goals would be my guess.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so he thinks that he'll add depth to the line for this year, and then after.
You understand in social media, everybody sees you getting a player.
Oh, everyone's going nuts. Yeah, I know.
Think he's going to step in and be Alan Page.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought if we were going to get a guy from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Now, did they have to pay him at all? I mean,
yeah. I'm pretty sure they.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he had to pay him.
That's my always. Me and Steve argue about this, and sometimes we're on the same page, sometimes we're not. But I'm always like, are we better getting a guy that upgrades, or are we better getting a guy that's a backup at a bigger school? Like that's always a $50 million question for us from a transfer standpoint. What are we better off with? I mean, I guess the answer is probably a mix, but
that's a good question, though. Shoot,
no, I don't
really
like
good
that.
Question.
What does it take to win? Well, we've seen what it takes to win at Group of 5 for us, right? We have a pretty good idea of what it takes for us to win. And does a big time a kid from a big time school who hasn't played, what makes him happy? What makes him happy versus I'm just using an example. I don't know, some kid from North New Hampshire that was first team.
That's who
right?
That's who I would take. I would take
a guy coming in from a big school, not necessarily this kid, but 9 times out of 10, a kid from a big school thinks he's going to come in and start right away.
Yeah, they have an attitude.
It would be a natural thing that the attitude wouldn't be great.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked that Sheffield left. I didn't think Sheffield was going to leave the receiver, but once Skylar Bell came back, Sheffield's gone.
We probably saw the handwriting on the wall, right?
He either declared for he was a starter. They were both starters, and he had good numbers. He didn't have a lot of yards per catch. He didn't have a lot of yards, but Skylar Bell was the guy. I think losing Sheffield was difficult, but they brought in a pretty. I mean, they brought in a pretty good class as far as transfers. They brought in the running back who I like. They brought in the tight end who I think is going to be something.
You mean for this year coming up?
Yeah, this year coming up, they brought in a tight end. Yeah, and they brought
in play much, right? Where he was at, and
no, he did not. No, he did not.
I mean, some of those.
But I do agree with you. I would rather take 100%. I would rather take the FCS kid who has played. Oh, okay. So they did announce this. Joe, you are correct. Boston College. They did announce a series with Boston College. That's going to be the last game. That's going to be one of the games this year.
Oh, wow. That's great.
UConn plays at Chestnut Hill October 18th. So that will fill out their roster. That will be their 12th game.
And let's be honest, boys. It's a much bigger deal for UConn than it is Boston College.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%.
College, it's another game.
100%.
Trying to be the Kings of New England.
100%.
Which is fine.
100%. I think they, the whole question that we had, and I had talked to Burton about this, was Joe Figiano. He's still listed on the roster, and I believe that he has another year of eligibility, which was kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting that, but that's what was said. He may have another year of eligibility. So that definitely, it muddies, cloudies the water or whatever.
Muddies the water, Steve.
That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Joe. That's what I was trying to say. That cloud that does that because, they want Evers to be the guy. They want him.
They big money for him. Of course they do.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. They want him to be the guy, but Joe obviously has shown that he deserves obviously a chance to start. He deserves to go into spring ball as the starter. I'm shocked that he has another year of eligibility. It must be that he redshirted the year that he got hurt and got comeback player of the year. But that's a tricky situation. The running back, losing Darrell Robinson was very, very big. I mean, he just ran angry. But I like the kid that they got from Eastern Illinois, and they also
Parker kid, Chris Parker.
Yeah, they also had somebody else, another running back that they got. So they're going to be fine there, and it'll be good to see Victor Rosa. Maybe he'll get back into the mix as well. But now, if you look at the roster, it's definitely not guaranteed. Your 8 wins or whatever, which we had hoped for and we wanted. I don't think they're going to get that. Dave, do you think? I mean, looking at their schedule, I know they play 2 FCS programs with Central Connecticut State and Delaware, but now with Syracuse, you got Duke, and you got BC. So, not to mention, Ball State and Buffalo. And Joe, I agree with you. They need to get a solid opponent to come to Rentschler Field, to Pratt Whitney Stadium, because the attendance is putrid, and they are not bringing in good opponents. I mean, at least
here's the home game.
They're bringing Duke.
Here's the home game. Duke doesn't.
I know.
Football. You got Central, you got Ball State, you got FIU, you got UAB, you got Duke, and you got UMass.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So I would agree. It's not 6, but last year wasn't a great.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I listen, I understand playing a schedule against teams that you can compete with, teams that you have a chance to beat. I get that. That's what they want to do. They believe that will help them get into a conference. I'm not huge on 2 FCS schools, MAC schools. I'd love to see more. I mean, better opponents from the group of 5. Rice, had a good year a few years ago. FIU isn't very good. I do think they can beat Syracuse. Syracuse has a good quarterback transfer, but I think they can beat Syracuse.
Who did Syracuse get as a quarterback transfer?
Remember, we went over it. I can't remember it now. Well, that's what we looked at, Joe D. We looked at the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away at the number of quarterbacks that left and got brought in immediately.
Well, because programs are looking for the quick fix. Rather than bring a freshman in and develop them, if you can get a 4th or 5th year guy who has good ability and stuff, then
No, exactly. That's why Syracuse had the year that they had, because of Kyle McCord. I wholeheartedly believe that. But it's just amazing to me.
Ricky Collins Jr. That's a good player.
Okay, that's who they got. Where's he from?
Yeah, LSU.
Oh, Jesus.
He played.
Yeah, see, Steve, I like your confidence, but until you beat Syracuse, you can't talk about beating Syracuse.
No, I know. I was at that game.
Fran Brown is good at getting.
He is.
He's from Jersey, so I know him a little bit, and he's from the Camden, Philly area. That's like his hotbed.
Okay, got you.
But he's very when he was at Georgia, and when he was, I can't remember where he was at before that. But he was known as being, I think, Rutgers. He was at Rutgers, and then he went to Georgia. He's known as one of the best recruiters in the country.
That's what Edsall's reputation was. His reputation was being a great recruiter.
But Fran Brown's been good at getting like 5 when he was at Georgia, getting 5 stars, and figuring out even Jersey, which doesn't have many 4 or 5 stars. He would find the 1 or 2 4 and 5 stars in Jersey, and they would go to him. So what he did last year with Ohio State quarterback, the guy who was the Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah, Kyle McCord,
Collins Jr. He's pretty good at that stuff. So he's going to get I'm sure I didn't look at the rest of their transfers, but he gets that star guy, and then he puts enough around them. You know what I mean? He puts enough around. So UConn's philosophy is a little different. It looks like it looks like they're trying to spread it around the money, where they're getting a lot of guys around the quarterback, but not necessarily the quarterback. You see what I'm saying? Like it's a little different philosophy of how. Now both can work. Obviously, both has worked for both guys.
What I did like was they brought in quite a few defensive transfers. They brought in some defensive linemen. They brought in some linebackers because they lost Jelani Stafford, Jaden McDonald.
Well,
those are big holes to fill.
Let's look at what they've done. All right.
You have the list.
A kid from Arizona who's going to his third school who caught 2 passes for Arizona last year.
Okay.
Right? They brought in a defensive back from Wisconsin, Hawaiian kid who's on his third school. Who last year played all of one game.
Yeah, he didn't do anything.
All right. You brought in now the kid from Washington, the Parham kid, seems like a player.
Okay.
211 tackles in his career.
Yeah.
Oh,
again,
he got relegated to backup last year, right? I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Defensive end from Iowa State played 3 games for Iowa State.
Right.
And had 19 tackles the year before.
So he did nothing.
Linebacker from Kansas State played 1 game.
Yep.
D lineman from Nebraska played 10 games and had 1 tackle.
10 games?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Running back from Eastern Illinois, he seems like the real deal.
I like him. Yes.
1,835 rushing yards, 513 receiving in 2 years. So that's pretty good.
Correct.
You got a D-back from Austin P.
The Georgetown kid I like.
You're right, but the D-back from Austin P is in his third school.
God,
the kid
crazy.
From Grand Valley State spent 3 years there, 90 total tackles, 38 games. The Georgetown kid, 19 tackles and an interception. The kid from Brown, offensive lineman, 13.
He's very good.
That one surprised me, but yes.
The kid from Texas Southern is at his fourth school.
Jesus Christ!
So you gotta. So I mean,
no,
like you said, and I'm not
hodgepodge.
I'm not right. Exactly. You're throwing darts against the wall, hoping they'll stick.
The only guys that were really truly accomplished were guys from a lower level, right?
Well, I saw the Georgetown kid play.
Here's what I don't know enough of this. Steve probably knows a little bit more than I do.
I do. I know everything.
I'm saying with respect to NIL and all that kind of stuff. To me, some of these FCS players who dominated at their level would not cost that much to bring up a level.
No, because we don't have that kind of money.
Like a lot of people won't even bring them in, right? Because if you're in the SEC, you're not sure if that FCS kid is going to be good enough.
No, that's a huge transition.
Right, but a group of 5, to me, the level we're at, like I understand there's a difference in levels, but once the guy's proven to be a star at FCS, he is at minimum the same level at group of 5.
I agree.
Minimum. If he's a star at group of 5, and you know, because you played in the Big East, and you also were on like with the beginnings when you guys were first you already had transitioned, and I remember when I played, like the guys who were, with the Yankee Conference was like the level it was. These kids who play at that kind of old Yankee Conference of the North Dakota States, the CAAs, the kids who do really well at those schools who want to move up, I think as long as we're in a group of 5, and that will help us get, in my opinion, to the Big 12, meaning you could take a decent amount of those guys with a little bit of research, get them up to you, win big, I think, at group of 5, and then everyone will say, hey, they not only are they, I mean, it's some of these Division I retreads, to me, just haven't done recruiting for all these years and have seen
that. I know. I recruited.
Joe, I've run camps for 20 years, used to have 20,000 kids come through my high school camps. I've seen those kids that were retreads. There were some kids that were really good that when it didn't work out at the higher level, they just never, ever panned out.
Right.
It's not that they didn't have the talent. They did have the talent. There's a level of handling the coaching at the next level that some talented kids who are big time level talented kids, that it just isn't for that. Like they can't handle.
No.
Don't you think too, Coach? That's a lot of it is about commitment.
Yeah, 100%.
I think
they give up. They give up.
And I think if you get somebody from a group of 4, group of 5 school, and they come down and it doesn't pan out for them right away, they check out mentally.
They do. Yeah, I agree.
And I agree. Think you got to do it with us. Like, if you're going to take a guy that was Division I and bring him to the group of 5 level, like
the kid from Iowa State, yeah.
I'm saying if you're bringing him in from a big school, he had to be a guy that was a good risk, like high risk failure, meaning you're better off with higher upside and higher failure than you're with a guy that you're not even sure can do it. That's me. Like, he might fail. If you brought in a guy that I'm just using an example, it was a high 4-star, ran some grade 40 or something.
Yeah.
But like couldn't adjust to playing at a big time place.
Right.
High upside, but he might fail too, right? I think you're better off with that than you are with a guy who really didn't play. He was good enough to be there, but he was on his third school.
Yeah. I don't like that either.
I don't see, you really have to get
I would never do that. I would never take a kid.
You recruited in college. You have to get lucky with that guy, kind of. Everything has to line up for him to succeed, whereas this FCS guy, who showed he was a star, like the Eastern Illinois. If the Eastern Illinois guy fails, there's no risk. He ran for 850 yards. He produced. If he fails,
and it's a running back position. We got running back, so
but we know that he produced. So he probably has a low likelihood of failing, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. Totally. I agree.
And look,
I would never take a kid on a third school. That bothers me. If a kid's transferring 3 times, that's too much. I would not do it.
A 4th school.
Or a 4th. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Third school now, he's got to really prove to me that he wants to show up. And
I think, Joe, you're 100% right that the kids coming.
What was it?
Joe, you're 100% correct.
I'll show this one question because I think this probably would give you the answer. When Shane Stafford and Carl Bond were tearing it up, right?
Yeah.
And they were what you would call out of high school because of their – I mean, not that Shane is short, but like at 6'2" at the time or what, everyone recruited really tall quarterback. And Carl Bond as like a running back type body guy, like 5'10", 200.
That's Torrey Taylor you're thinking of.
Well, no. Carl Bond.
He played running back?
No, out of high school, he was a running back, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm saying his body type is a running back body type. He's not a receiver body type. He's 5'10", 205.
No, he's short. Right.
So if those two guys, after the season they had, where the team went 10-3, Carl Bond has 1,100 yards receiving, is All-American. Shane throws for whatever amount of. Would fast forward to our team? Would we be better off taking a Carl Bond and a Shane Stafford than going and grabbing some guy from Rutgers who was the backup? That's
100%. I would take the FCS.
Who's the Rutgers backup? Do you want him? No, you don't.
No. I want the FCS.
And you're not even getting the Rutgers backup. You're getting the third string. Okay, you're not. The Rutgers backup still has hope.
Yeah,
right, I mean, seeing that, and again, I think the most inexact science, other than trying to predict the weather, is recruiting sports.
Agreed.
And I think football even more so.
You
play at different levels in high school, then you get to college, and the transfer portal has really made this a hit or miss proposition. We've seen that at every school, not just UConn.
100%.
We see it at every school. You look at basketball, transfer portal guys, Newton.
It doesn't seem okay. Spencer, they were
Spencer. UConn's hit a home run. Baseball, Jimmy does that all the time. Hits home runs with guys.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Hockey,
I did not know that.
They Jim Penders might be the best at it. Cav this year in hockey has brought in three kids, or 4 kids counting the goalie, who was awesome last weekend, has brought in 4 kids who contributed right away. But football, I think football's the hardest.
Well, yeah, football. I think if the kid from Notre Dame, if he comes in and doesn't play right away in his mind, I'm from Notre Dame. I want a national title. I'm coming to UConn.
He doesn't think he's starting. I'm telling you.
No, there's no way he doesn't.
Absolutely. And
probably, and to be honest with you, and I know you said what Michael said, but I guarantee you the coaches aren't looking at him as a backup.
He's a starter.
Yeah.
If they paid him,
if they did pay him, they got to get their money.
Coming in the spring bowl or can't whenever he's coming in there, he's coming in as a starter, and then he's gonna have to prove that he's not for some reason. But he's coming in as a starter, because if he doesn't, he's jumping right back in the portal.
Well, yeah, he could. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Him and the Brown kid.
Joe,
maybe they'll both be started.
Basketball is really valid. For years, I lived next door to a guy who was a big basketball guy, like in AAU, but his brother was the assistant coach for the Nets for years. And he told me that they know at 16 years old who the top 100 players are in the country. And he said there's very little change over the next
improvement. Really?
Very little. He said very, very little change.
I could see that.
Yeah. So which that tells you that when they pull in transfers, that stuff's still going with them from the time they were young. So they're still okay, these guys have the ability to be this high level. And then, yes, there's a few outliers, obviously. There's always a few outliers that become better later on and so on and so forth. But you can't say that in football. You can say who the top 100 guys are at 16. At 19, that has changed radically.
Right.
Radically.
Yes.
Bodies change, mentality. And look, the kid, just because the kid from Notre Dame has been a backup for 2 years doesn't mean he's not going to come in.
No, you're right. No,
but it's not a guarantee.
No.
Size-wise, you would hope at 6'5", 320 that he would be a starter, because he'd probably be one of the biggest guys right away.
Oh, absolutely.
You're right.
But we're just using it as an example of there's got to be, in football more so than basketball, you're taking a risk. Even with your boy Aiden Mahaney, they were pretty sure what they were getting. And they still might.
I think they will. Yeah,
right. But he's been, I would guess, more inconsistent than they thought, and part of that is because they asked him to switch his role
positions. Right.
They asked him.
Mahaney's still playing at one of the best programs in America.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, the best program over the last 2 years. But you would say no doubt one of the top 10 programs in America, right? If Mahaney showed up at Seton Hall, they would be they'd be so excited, they'd be losing their mind how excited they would be to have him. So that kind of proves that point that we know these players are gonna be great. It's just whether they are unbelievably great or they're just great, right? We need them to be unbelievably great at UConn to win the championship, but they're at least minimum great. Whereas football, you don't know. I mean, you really don't know.
You don't.
It's the ultimate crapshoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why quarterbacks are so valuable, because Carson Beck, who did start at Georgia, you're going to
$7 million.
He's going to do. On a quarterback that actually played.
That changes your whole program.
A certain amount out of Carson Beck.
Yeah, it changes everything.
Yeah,
it changes everything.
We don't know what we're getting out of our quarterbacks yet.
No. I mean, if Figiano has another year, if Evers develops, I mean,
if Figiano comes back, if that's the case that he has more eligibility, which I didn't know,
I didn't either.
He 100% is the starter. Like, to me,
yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree. I think it's going to be 50-50 going into the spring.
I think it will be too, because
I agree they're going to battle.
They want Evers to play.
There's no doubt. But I think that, like, he proved that he should be the starter coming in. You know what I mean?
No question. I agree 1,000%.
Joe said that after the first game. And
I think Joe's right. He's going to make them. He's going to make them battle it out 100%.
Right, because they want Evers to play. The problem is he can't execute the offense. Now, Joe is a low completion percentage guy, but if you look at his numbers, 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, that's incredible. 2,000 yards passing.
Yep.
He can execute the offense as long as they have a running game and play tough defense.
Well, then you and be successful.
He's not going to win you games himself.
Quarterback, it's never just on you. If you've got an off, because we don't know how good Daniel Jones would have been with the Giants, because the offensive line always
was atrocious. Yes,
always sucked.
Atrocious.
If your offensive line isn't good, you got no chance.
Well, look at Sam Darnold.
Unless you're running some West Coast offense, which nobody does anymore.
Right.
Everything's spread.
Correct.
5-step drop or 7-step drop. Everything's vertical passing game.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you've got a good offensive line and you've got guys to throw the ball to, then the running game is going to be even better, because teams have to play pass and you can run the ball.
And Sam Darnold, I go to him. I mean, he goes to the Vikings. He has some weapons. He has a great season.
Right, Baker Mayfield doesn't guarantee that if he goes to the Giants, like
exactly,
about, he's
exactly,
good.
Exactly.
I agree.
He was in with the Jets.
Exactly.
Joe, I'm curious if the younger quarterbacks that UConn has.
Yeah, they have a bunch. They got Tucker McDonald.
Well, I'm saying, are those guys going to get a shot? Like the six.
Cole Welliver.
Yeah, he's like 6'6". Like, I don't know.
That's Welliver.
I don't know.
I would guess it's a 2-man competition.
Got it.
Going into camp, and they're going to try to groom the other kids, because eventually Evers and Figiano.
This is Evers' last year. Yeah, this is both of their last years, so they do have to make.
This is Evers' last year.
Yeah, and and they didn't bring in. That's what bothers me. They didn't bring in. I know they brought 3 quarterbacks in last year. They didn't bring anyone in the transfer portal. What bothers me again. I'm saying this year they didn't bring. They didn't have a quarterback. They only signed 12 freshmen. That's what kind of bothers me. I'd like to see them go with more freshmen.
Well, but don't forget, 2 years ago, the head coach, after a loss, said he was never recruiting freshmen again, which, to be honest with you,
he did.
One of the goofiest statements I've ever heard.
I didn't know he said that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that makes sense then why they had 60 new guys last year and most of them were transfers. So that's what he's looking for.
Well, because he knows he's looking to build quickly. That's all.
Well, and we have to. We have a sense of urgency to get into a conference, or else we're not sustainable as an independent. So it has to happen. And that is very important. If they got to go with transfers to do it, whatever gets it done, I'm fine with. I just hope, I don't even know who evaluates the transfers. I mean, I know they have a recruiting coordinator and a staff, but it's got to be difficult to evaluate the transfers, because you got to know something about them before they go into the portal. You can't just evaluate them once they enter the portal. You must know something about them before they go in. So that's what also worries me.
Well, yes and no, Steve. I mean, there's so many. You can't have little index cards on 10,000 college football.
No, you can't. But can you evaluate a kid once they get into the portal?
Oh, absolutely. They have to.
You have enough time. You have enough time to.
Exactly.
Okay.
You watch film and you talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, I think word of mouth plays a big role when it comes to transfers. You have people, people in your you know, like I'm sure
in your circle.
He knows people all over. He can call somebody out in Ohio and say, "What about so and so from Ohio State?"
Right.
He's got people in Indiana. What do you think of the big offensive tackle who's getting in the portal?
Right. So we will end our show. I just wanted to get your predictions, Joe, for obviously we have DePaul coming up and then Marquette. So I'm assuming you're going to go DePaul, Marquette, 2 wins. And then St. John's. Wow, they're playing. They're crazy.
Tough.
They're only playing. They're playing 2 games this week, 1 game next week. So you obviously like DePaul. You know we're going to beat DePaul. Marquette's going to be tough.
I think DePaul's an easy win tonight. I think they come out on fire. I think tonight's a night where they take a 15-point lead and they expand it to 25. And I think Marquette's a toss-up, you know?
Marquette's a 50-50.
I'm sure Marquette will be like a 3 or 4 point favorite.
Right, because it's at Marquette.
It's in Wisconsin.
And then the UConn women, I will ask, also have DePaul,
30-point win.
And Butler.
50-point win.
All right. And then the big game's going to be Tennessee, which we'll talk about
for another week, right?
Which we'll talk about next week. Yeah. Tennessee's next Thursday. St. John's is next Saturday.
And then the St. John men are next Friday. So
next Friday. Yeah. So yes, you've heard it here on Husky Hoops with Joe D'Ambrosio, the icon, the voice of the Huskies, the best of the best, Maria Conlon. We give you nothing but the best for top analysis and insight. And also by myself, I am a great analyst and insight. I have such valuable knowledge. For Joe D'Ambrosio, the voice of the Huskies, the icon himself, and the coach, David Schuman, we thank Maria Conlon, UConn legend, head women's basketball coach at Western Connecticut State University, the Wolves, the Fighting Wolves. We wish her luck against UMass. And the coach, David Schuman. I am Stephen Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. And it was a Newport I was smoking. So take when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life, or smoke a Newport.